Being recorded, so be mindful of what comes across your cameras and your microphone. Those of you joining us remotely, whatever, you are not participating, please remain muted. I highly recommend that you feel comfortable to participate in the discussion by unmuting yourselves. Just be mindful to mute yourself again when you're done contributing to cut down on background noise and interference. I will keep an eye on the chat box, but I'm not always very quick to see it, so I do highly encourage you to just contribute verbally. It is still Monday, September 16th, 2024. We're coming up on 6 o'clock for the quarterly LWIA 23 board meeting. So whenever our chair, Gerald Little, is ready, this is all meeting.
I am ready. If you're not ready, then join us to be ready, okay? So go ahead and continue reading. But we'd like to call the meeting to order. Our September, we have board meeting. So I asked Debbie to please call the roll.
Okay, Gerald Little,
Present.
Jim Bolton,
Present.
Kevin Pinkford. Hey, you present?
Present.
Kevin Busher,
Present.
Brian Cannon,
Here.
Mike Conley. Katie Davis, here. Aaron Hacker. Kathy Iyer. Carolyn Gordon.
Here.
Mandy Martin.
Here.
Josh McElready. Julie Overmar. Here. Lori Portman. Deb Reed. Here. Roy Shelley. Denise Smith.
Present.
Chris Grohl. Here. Kim Taylor. Carol Tracy. Here. Jason Wilson. Courtney Yockey.
Present.
Austin Williams. You have the floor.
All right, great. Thank you all very much. So, when you're working on the agenda, item 2, approval of the June 17th board minutes, you see in your packet. You'll have a motion to approve the board minutes as presented. Yes, we have Sandy. Do I have a second? Anybody want to second that? Okay, Julie second. All right. Does anyone see any corrections or additions that need to be made? If none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, all opposed, same sign. All right, thank you all very much. Move on next. Conflict of interest. I know there may be some, I don't know, but does anyone have a conflict of interest in the agenda items that we'll be voting on this evening?
So Kevin Busher will have a conflict on the budget.
I understand. Thank you, Kevin. Any others? Okay, no others. Item 4, we have this annual workforce development month here in September. There's a lot of wherefores and whereases and everything, but at the end of the page, now therefore be it resolved that the local Workforce Innovation Board of LWIA 23 joins with the National Association of Workforce Development Professionals and designated the month of September as Workforce Development Professionals Month to honor all those individuals and all the workforce development organizations and partnerships who play such a vital role in our economy, and that's each and every one of you in the room. So we are more than happy to declare September as the Workforce Innovation Month. Anyway, so, and I've already signed it. So you're good to go. Okay? So, moving on. We will move on to committee reports. So I think Chris is going to take over for Mike, right?
Yes. We held our planning and oversight meeting on September 12th at 4:30 here at CFS. We did have a report from Debbie on the grant recipient fiscal agent reports, which you'll hear more about later also. Kelly provided us with performance reports for LWIA 23 for CEFS. We heard about the programming and fiscal monitoring report from Jamie. Kevin and or Tina will be filling us in on the budget later on. One thing we did talk about was board appointments. Later on at the CEO meeting, there will be 3 new board members under the CEO umbrella. And then there are also 3 board not new, 2 current board members that will continue on as board members, and then 1 board position that will be open, and that will be private industry. Is that correct, Jamie? That will be open.
There's been a new appointee.
And that was what we covered on Thursday afternoon here.
All right, does anyone have any questions for Chris? If there are no questions, I think David's gonna do our youth report.
Yes, the youth committee met at 4 o'clock today and just in general, talking about the goals, the direction of the youth committee. We wanted to wait until the new director is in place, so we'll talk about that later. And then in our future meetings, we'll be discussing kind of the goals of the committee and how we're going to move forward. And then we do have 2 vacancies on the youth committee right now. We would like those to be from the public sector or private sector, sorry. And so we'll be looking for members and see if we might want to be tapping for those.
Good, good. Yeah, so you board members be considering that or someone in your community? That would be good. It'd be all right. Youth committee, that'd be great. Awesome. Any questions for David on the youth committee report? If not, all right, Kevin, unfortunately.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I'd just like to apologize for not being there in person today. I have 2 sick family members at home, so I didn't want to get everybody the flu bug. Didn't want to pass that along to everybody, so I thought I would stay home. So today we met this afternoon for the consortium meeting, and Adam Flack from the Division of Rehabilitation Services did a very thorough training of the services they provide, and I'd highly recommend him maybe come and talking to the full board, because they have a lot of excellent services they provide, and I think it would be great for all the board to hear those. Next, we talked about a business service update, and Devin, is there anything, Devin, that you want to tell the board about from your report? Any highlights?
Yeah, we'll just cover it very briefly. We met July 17th, I believe was the date. I have some scribble somewhere. August 21st was another meeting. Our final one for this quarter will be held Wednesday. So those are our last 3 business service team meeting. I did brief that for anybody and with IDES. We'll be heading up the future business service meetings. So we'll be steps to this coordinator gets tied on and up to speed. And we did have a talent pipeline management manufacturing project there on July 23rd at the Young Public Library. We had about 10 attendees, 4 from our manufacturing partners. And just in a nutshell, they are having difficulties keeping employees in these lower level, high demand, high efforts, very demanding position. So moving forward, Freddie Buckingham and Chris Cahoon with IDES are both TPM certified, so they'll be moving future TPM collaboratives until such time to get on board with that. That'll be for the important session. So in a nutshell, that's what. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Kelly did give a one-stop operator report during our meeting, and then we had our partner reports to close out the meeting. Our next meeting will be on December 16th at 4 o'clock. That's my report.
Thank you, Kevin. The next is the executive report. We did meet on September 5th. As we all know, with the transition of the fiscal agent from Lakeland to SEFs, there was a budget that was submitted by SEFs that was in your packet that we will be voting on this evening. It is a budget that looks different than for you that have been on the boards and stuff for a while. It looks different. Same information, it's just more of it. So we had some questions and trying to get our head wrapped around all this information and the changes. So, but at the end of the meeting, our only item was to approve the budget. And so we are, as an executive board, we did approve the budget and recommending that we approve the budget. Well, okay. So, although I'm going to take this opportunity on the executive side to make a comment. If you remember last month, we had made or not last month, our last meeting, we had talked about the agreement between our fiscal agent and our service provider. And there were some discrepancies, some different things that came up. And that was going to be something that we were really going to focus on and get some language change and make some changes. But once we started down that road, and then now our fiscal agent has changed, okay? That kind of changes how all this is going to look. So, and I've talked to Brian Ellis about this and where do we need to go? What do we need to do? Trying to get some direction on this particular agreement between that fiscal agent and service provider. And as we all know, the fiscal agent, that agrees in their agreement with the CEOs, they agree we're going to perform our duties thus and so, right? And based on DECO, their requirements, and so forth. Okay, that's all laid out. And so much really the same with the service provider, right? They have all of its criteria that they've got to follow, and all that becomes part of that agreement. All right. So what was the agreement between the fiscal agent and the service provider? And I'm simple-minded, okay? So it's kind of like, okay, how are you guys going to play in the sand? All right. And because you've already agreed to provide services here and services here, and you've already agreed to that. That's what you've agreed to do. So we're not trying to put more onto you, but okay, as both, how are you going to play in the sandbox? And how is this going to work with the board and stuff? So now that we have our fiscal agent and our service provider, the same entity, how are you going to play with yourself in the sandbox? Is that what we're going to look at? So this agreement isn't even mandated by DECO. It's an agreement that we can at will have if we as CEOs, we board, whatever, determine that we want to create some kind of document that will show how we want this to all work together. Okay? Not that we're changing the rules, okay, but do we want this kind of a document this type of an agreement to show how a fiscal agent and a service provider are supposed to work together with the board to do all this? That is not required by the DECO, so therefore there is no time limit on this. This is something that we can say, okay, do we really want this? Do we really want some kind of document? And if it is, how is it going to look? Okay, what's it going to contain? What is this agreement going to contain? And that's something I think we have to have a little bit different conversation. Okay, do we want this? Is it something that we feel is needed? How's it going to look? So what I'll be doing is trying to get some information together, some guidelines, because we have some guidelines for this to throw out probably first to the executive committee. Okay, so they can kind of look at that and say, okay, yeah, we'd like to bring this together, or no, we don't really see an advantage here. So we have to agree on whether we want this or not. Okay, so that's why nothing was pushed through, because with the fiscal agent changing, and I think this is going to put and I'm just gonna give you my opinion. I think this puts a more of a duty on the oversight committee, okay? To step up and to make sure that this is going, what we don't want a DECO audit and then say, ouch. Okay, that's what we don't want, okay? So and like I said, this is just my opinion. When we had both of them as different entities, okay? They probably worked things out together, we never even knew it. Okay, they probably did, I don't know, but evidently it went well, right? It went well, because whatever audits that we had from DCO, there were little, and they're usually going to try to find something anyway, but there were just little penny anything, weren't they? It wasn't anything that brought us to our knee, right? There were things that were correctable and moved on. And that's the way we want to keep it, right? That's exactly the way we want to keep it. That's the way I believe Seth wants to keep it as well. Okay, that is, I have no argument about that. Okay, but how do we want this to look if we do it? You know, so I make those comments because I think I committed to you last meeting that we would have this in place. Okay, and with all the changes, and with this not being a requirement, there was a bigger fish that we needed to contend with than this, okay? I felt that in my, that's why I didn't try to push this through. Because they've already got enough on their plate to make the transition. Let's not add to it right now on stuff that is not necessary. That was why I did not push this through. Now you can take me out back and beat me later if you want to, okay? But that's why I did not push it. Okay? So I would like to see Seths get on their feet with both. And then we sit down and have a good meeting with them and say, hey, is this where we want to be? What do we want to do here? You know, how do you want to play with yourself in the sandbox? You know? So that's why. Does anyone have any comments on that? On the board, have a comment? And if you say, Gerald, you screwed up big time, just tell me. Yeah. But that's the way I kind of like to see this happen for now. Okay.
Hey, Gerald, it's Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin, go ahead.
Yeah. During the transition meeting, I will kind of, or transition where I talk about the transition. I'd like to explain my plans for monitoring, and those types of things that might kind of ease some of these concerns about having the service provider and the fiscal agent is the same. So I can explain that during that when I talk about the transition.
Sounds good, Kevin. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Sounds good. So that's my
There is the CEOs did approve a new contract.
Yeah.
The CEO contract with the
fiscal agent.
fiscal agent / in this case.
Right.
In one contract instead of two separate ones.
Yeah. Yeah, they sent me a copy of that. Thanks for pointing that out. So, but anyway, I don't want you to think we're hiding stuff from you. That's what I don't want. But I don't want to give you information and why you tell me that? You know, but I'm anyway.
I think there needs to be some sort of something drafted to where there's segregation of duties on, I know it's the same entity, but we have there's two separate.
Agreed.
Board staff and Title I staff.
Right.
There's separation of duties, responsibilities, outcomes, deliverables.
Those types of things. Yeah, understood. But it's gonna look different than what it has in the past. We understand that. Okay. And how that needs to look, I think it's, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but there needs to be some things put in place, but what those are right now, and like I said, I will let Kevin explain how they're gonna monitor themselves as well. Like I said, I think this also puts a little bit more responsibility, I think, on the oversight committee, just to do that. Okay. All right. Any questions? Okay. Too long reporting. So now I need a motion to approve the reports as presented. Do I have a motion? Anybody?
Before you do that, I just want to point out that I don't know that the board has had an opportunity to see, not haven't been able to see probably the new contract.
Okay,
And there is a provision in the CEO contract with the fiscal agent and service provider that the CEO and the board must enter into the with agreements from single entity performance, multiple functions and local area. And it's limited to it serves to limit conflict of interest, and the appearance of conflict of interest, minimize fiscal risk, develop appropriate firewalls within single entity performing multiple functions, clarifies how the organization will carry out its responsibilities while demonstrating compliance with the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act and corresponding regulations, relevant Office of Management and Budget circulars and the state's conflict of interest policy.
thank you. Yeah.
So in that, there is.
That provision for that.
I agree that it does put more responsibility on your oversight committee, because this is one, and Kevin knows this. This is one reason I was really glad to have one organization, well, services for the responsibility that does put upon oversight. However, apparently, according from us, we are about the one that we were about one of the three or four LWIAs in the entire state that did not have the same organization. So we are basically.
Yeah, the category I mentioned, don't, are you gonna bring that out, or as that goes, and we can kind of take that, expand upon it, what we might need to do, and be able to secure that. I agree. Okay, yes, Chris?
I'm the co-chair of the Planning and Oversight Committee. I think if the board has a different expectation of the Planning and Oversight Committee, that would be something also to be communicated to the chairperson and the co-chairperson to make sure that we understand what the board is expecting of our committee, to make sure that we're withholding, or that we're holding up what our committee charge is and what we're responsible for to report back to the board also.
Good point.
And what the next steps in the transition that CEFS will be in charge of is to those governing documents that have not been high priority, they're coming up next. So that will be reviewing the bylaws that include all of the committee charges and expectation, that is looking at the CEO LWIA agreement, that's looking at all those documents that will continue to govern the board and the CEOs and the service provider / fiscal agent. We just had to prioritize the CEO agreement and the CEO designation of fiscal agency to be able to get the transition moving. So now that those have been done and taken care of, those are the next steps. So that's for you guys to know that's between now and December, the next meetings, there'll be a lot more work for updating those documents and bringing those committees, especially planning and oversight, on up to speed on what new responsibilities may be or new expectations.
The primary responsibility was to get the CEO agreement with the new fiscal agent. And that had to be done by September 30th, which of course we succeeded in. And I talked with Brian this morning, and he said he's very pleased. He's surprised that we were able to get this far this fast. He was really impressed with that.
Yeah.
So he was very pleased that we moved along further than faster than we thought we would.
Good deal. Awesome. Okay. So, I still need a motion. The prison report, committee reports. Hey, Carol, make a motion. Second, anybody?
Second.
Chris? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right. Thank you all very much. So now, Kelly, We're up.
So that. Okay, so, the performance measures report in the packet. And as you can see, we exceeded almost all the categories of the performance measures for CY 23. We only had 2 categories where we did not exceed but met. So, the report was that we met our goals for CY 23. Also, we are in the process of negotiating, for the new, CY 24, performance measures. So we should have that completed hopefully by September 25th. One thing I want to point out, also in your packet is the recruitment plan that we had, put in place. We started that in February. And what that is basically about is that, our measures for the out-of-school youth and the work-based programs were very low. And so we put the recruitment plan in place to try to increase our numbers, and we have succeeded very well. We're on target to meet the out-of-school youth 50% measure, and then also the 20% work experience measure. So we're hopefully going to hit those benchmarks. Right. And then we have had some layoffs in the last little bit. Many of you probably heard about KFC that were closing some restaurants in Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana. The only one in our region that was affected was the one in Charleston, and that was going to affect about 17 employees. So I don't know if you have had anybody come in. I don't think so. Elaine says no. And then we also were recently notified about the Midwest transport closing in 4 states. Hundreds of employees were affected, mostly truck drivers. For us, although it's been kind of difficult to get information from the company because they closed almost immediately, that we believe there are about 75 workers in our area, Robinson and Freon, that will be affected. So we may see a few dislocated workers come in, and we do have funding for that. And then lastly, I just want to bring to your attention that last quarter we discussed the increase in the transportation costs from 25 cents to 50 cents, and we have done that, and we do feel like it is helping our customers, especially with the economy.
Good.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, Midwest Transport, you're right. I mean, about 70 in our local area, Crawford County itself, like the people. Yeah. So, yeah, very unexpected. Very unexpected. But anyway, yeah. So, all right. Thank you, Kelly. Okay, Jamie, fiscal agent.
Okay, so you think by now I remember technology. As we discussed earlier in the agenda, September is Workforce Development Month. So thank you, Gerald, for signing the proclamation, and thank you for everyone who's involved in the workforce ecosystem to improve the quality of life in the region through economic development. I wanted to share with you guys, back in June, we voted, and the end results for the success story winner for 2023, 2024 is Danielle Goldberg from Altamont. She was your winning choice. There will not be an awards luncheon in Springfield as there have been in previous years. Instead, they're doing the Illinois Workforce Partnership is doing a different type of recognition. With hopes that maybe by the WIA summit in the spring, there will be some sort of award luncheon or some type of celebratory event, but different from previous years. This year is that there won't be the luncheon in the fall, and instead, they'll do some type of social media campaign to highlight all the winners across the state. So congratulations to Danielle, and thank you all for voting for her story. It's exciting. Incumbent worker projects, we had so far this year, we already had quite a bit. We have wrapped them all up, and since the decision to switch fiscal agency was made in July. We did put everything on pause, so we were not starting new incumbent worker projects in the last few months. We were wrapping up the ones that were already established and in progress. And then as soon as that gets to a place where they are comfortable, they will restart incumbent worker projects. But we've had really good turnout so far. That's been shaping up to be a banner year. Each year, it seems like we were doubling the amount of projects. So I think it's well within reason to say that we could easily still hit, even with the pause during the transition, hit a very good return of more than 10 to 15 project possibly. So keep spreading word about incumbent worker training projects and sending referrals to the team at CEFS. Since June, we did receive our final letter from GCEO for their PY23 monitoring results. There were just 2 findings programmatically, there were none fiscally. The findings were minimal. First finding is updating a service record. There was no corrective action because it was just done a couple days late. Finding 2 was, again, not updating correct changes. We were able to, the team was able to get in there and get the corrective action taken care of quite quickly. So we sent a final response to the CEO on August 5th, and really these are phenomenal results that they come in and pulling through all of our documents and files with a very fine-tooth comb. It is a very intense monitoring, and to come back with just 2 basically clerical errors is wonderful. It's very good results there. So just end of PY23 notes, the Lakeland board operating budget, we spent 88.4% of that budget. The key metrics, like Kelly said, they were meeting all, but with 2 exceptions, youth in school being less than 50% of the youth budget and youth work experience being at least 20% of the budget. Officially, it still shows that we're not meeting, but we are on track to meet that by the time that all of the PY23 funds are expended. So if you look at the KPI document, it does say failing, but know that the projections are that we should be on track to meet those, just barely, but still meeting. Training versus overhead ended up above the 50% requirement. It may have been 53.4 or slightly different number. Apologize, but I forgot to go back in there and correct it. But still a little bit of cushion, not quite as much cushion as we usually have, but still we had cushion and we ended up in green. So I'm happy about that. And all of the MOU billings for last year have been received. So PY23, we came in like a lion and went out like a lamb. We were a little worried there at the beginning, but we rallied the troops and everything. Certainly all good. Jim Bolin, I want to thank you for your service on the board. You will continue to serve on the chief elected officials consortium, but as far as board members, this is the last meeting as an LWIA member. You've served your full 3 terms, so you do have to sit out at least 1 term, and you can come back later if you want to. So thank you so much for your service, and look forward to continuing to have you serve in the capacity of chief elected official. The WIN Workforce Innovation News podcast is wrapping up. There's 1 more episode on deck to be released, and then it will go on hiatus until CEFS decides to restart. They may come back with a facelift and look a little, sound a little bit different, but we are still online until October 31st. So check out Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcasts, or Spotify to pick up the last few episodes. And then all of those episodes will live on the YouTube channel as well. So be sure that you are listening, sharing those. The last one that's going to be live any day now, I hope, is focused on the Effingham County Chamber of Commerce Manufacturing Skills and Trades Day, which will happen on October 17th. It's a really cool event. And I talked to Jeremy to get some more details about what to expect, how the event impacts the local high schools and manufacturing sectors. And a good episode, so make sure that you are on the lookout for that one as well. We had the one right before that was with Kate Pleasant on character development in the workforce, and that's a really enlightening one. Like, I learned a ton from her just in the few minutes that we spoke. So if you have not caught that one yet, make sure that you go back and take a listen. That one's really good. And share. So on some events to be ready for Manufacturing Day. National Manufacturing Day is October 4th. Effingham Chamber Chamber of Commerce, will be celebrating the Manufacturing Skills and Trades Day on the 17th. National Apprenticeship Week is coming up November 17th through 23rd. There will continue to be a push for National Apprenticeship Week proclamations from counties, cities, municipalities. Even though we don't have an active apprenticeship grant currently, it's still very important that we recognize apprenticeship is part of workforce development. It is a career pathway that another option for those who might not want to go down the traditional route, and that there will still be a lot of support for apprenticeships, even though there is not a grant. And then I was looking at the wrong calendar when I originally did this. The next board meetings in December are not enough. I don't know where I got that wrong calendar from, but the December 16th, right? December 6th. So ignore that. Sorry.
That's the right year.
At least we got the right year. I'm doing something right. And then this is my last meeting, so I just wanted to express my gratitude. It's been a privilege to serve alongside such dedicated and professional group of individuals, all of you working tirelessly to ensure that our region's workforce and communities thrive. Throughout my time here, I've learned so very much. So many lessons that will stay with me and serve me well in my future roles. I've developed authentic collaborations with diverse partners in our workforce ecosystem. I've gained an understanding that real progress comes from bringing people together with different perspectives but shared goals. I've had the honor of gleaning leadership qualities from some of the most prestigious community leaders, learning how to lead with vision, integrity, and empathy. I've been able to hone my strategic planning skills, seeing firsthand how deliberate, thoughtful planning translates into meaningful outcomes. I now understand that the workforce is not a singular entity, but a spectrum of partners, each playing a complementary role in building a stronger economy. But most importantly, I've learned that the workforce is at the heart of the quality of life for our communities. When we support workers and businesses, we uplift families, strengthen neighborhoods, and create a more vibrant region. While my role here is coming to a close, I'm excited for what lays ahead for the board and our region. I know that you'll all continue to make a profound impact, lifting up workers and businesses alike. So thank you for your trust, for your partnership, and for allowing me to be part of such meaningful work. I look forward to seeing the continued success of this board and its members in the years to come. Thank you very much. Any questions about the board report?
You want to tell us about your new position?
As of October 1st, I have accepted the role of Dean of Enrollment and Student Success at Lakeland College. So just a different part of the workforce and narrowed into a very specific group, but still part of making sure that future workforce has the skills that they need to be successful out in the workforce for our region. We keep them in our region.
Good. Thanks, Jamie. Appreciate it very much. Okay. Kevin, are you ready for this?
Yes, I am.
Go for it.
All right. So we have the budget to discuss. We had two documents that we sent you. One was the PY 24 program budget. I'm not sure if everybody has that in front of them, but I'm going to be going over those two budgets. This is the budget that we actually turned into DCEO. And just to let you know, that was turned in the day after the executive committee, and they've already sent the notice of state award out last week. So it should be on line to be active October 1st. But I want to go over this budget with you quickly. So on the first page, it talks about administration. If you look on there, there's a total administration funding of $269,212. This administration is the budget that you would have saw from Lakeland College. That's the best comparison. Lakeland College had other cost in there that was related to incumbent worker and and cost related to delivering incumbent worker and some youth and adult funds in there too. But it is comparing apples to apples, but it's comparing Granny Smith apple to Honeycrisp or whatever. So there are two different apples, so you can't quite measure them up the same. But that's my best illustration for you on the budget you saw in the past. And this budget would be the administration budget. So I'll just go over to the fourth quarter line just to give you one example how this works. Again, this is the state's form that we're using. So personnel for the full 12 months is 142,225. Fringe benefits 43,794. Other administrative costs 62,144. And those other administrative costs are, for example, mileage, building cost for the staff, the 3 staff, computer cost, cost for audits, so on and so forth. And those can be broken down further for you when we do our quarterly financial reports to you. We can break those down furtherly, however you want them done. And then lastly is the indirect cost. That's kind of compared to the Lakeland College when they had a cost for Lakeland's part of it, which was, I think this year around $41,000. That's our indirect cost for the part of the administration. Then if you go through this whole budget, they got the youth in school, youth out of school, adult and dislocated worker budget planned out. And we decided that we would show you the whole budget because as the grant recipient service provider, we're providing all these services. So we wanted to make sure you got to see the full budget, and you'll continue to see the full budget every quarter when you get the reports. So not only are you going to get to see the administrative part of it, but you're also going to get to see the other 3 funding sources with the youth, adult, dislocated worker, and trade, if we have any at that time, able to see the budgets, the expenditures, the revenues each quarter going forward. Next quarter, we will give you those reports. And if they're not the way you exactly want them, you can tell us how you want them and we'll make them longer, make them shorter, put more information, take less information out. As you can see in the youth, in school and youth out of school and adult and dislocated worker, not only can you see the personnel cost, benefits cost, but you're also going to see the direct training cost, which is what we want to see. We want as much as that money going to direct training as possible. So you can see those different categories. So if you go all the way to the bottom of it, it's the total of $2,692,133 is the total budget for the program year 24. And then on the very last page, which I thought it would be useful to share with you, is our registrants form that we have to turn into the state. And this is our best estimation at the time when we would turn this in of how many adults, dislocated worker, and youth we're going to serve throughout the year. So it's another form we turn in with the budget. So what do you guys think? You have any questions for me on this PY24 budget?
I do have one question that maybe for Debbie. Kevin had mentioned that when Lakeland College did the budget, that they included incumbent worker in the admin costs. That is not correct, is it? Our admin costs were negotiated between the college and CEFS, more part of dislocated worker costs, correct?
Yes, incumbent worker is, but it wasn't part of the budget,
The admin budget.
that, yeah,
Okay.
for the board. They were totally separate.
Yes, and what I was trying to explain was it was part of the budget that Lakeland presented to the board, not part of the admin budget, but part of the full budget that Lakeland always presented to the board. Any other questions on this first budget before we hit to the next one? Okay, we'll go to the next budget, which is the WIOA State Supplemental Grant. When this first transition took place, one of the first things that the DCO stated that we needed to do was to get this state supplemental grant in right away. So again, this was turned in the day after the executive committee, and it's been conditionally approved until we get the uniform budget completed, which will be done here in the next week. So in that, if you want to turn to that second page, I'll kind of go over the state supplemental budget. We're going to be working on 3 different projects with the state plan. One is to working with Lake Lane College and Illinois Eastern Community College to provide instructional booklets and Chromebooks and laptops to the colleges to help provide students with these services or English as a second language and adult education programs. So they will help them teach the students English as a second language and the other programs they're offering. So that's the first project. The second project is to expand employment and job opportunities for single parents. So currently through our youth, adult and dislocated worker, we have, I'm not sure what percentages, but it's probably 25 to 30% of our enrollees are single parents. So we want to expand and serve more single parents through the same type of services we're already doing on the job training, classroom training, short-term training, and providing those, supportive services along with it. The third project will be to emphasize workforce development and rural prosperity. And that was one of the categories we could do. All our 13 counties is rural. So to do this, we're going to, reduce barriers such as transportation, childcare, so they can, students can get back to school or get on to work-based learning and get jobs quickly. So that's our other target for this. And like I said, it's been already conditionally approved by a DCO. Again, but the budget's on the second page. It's a total of $203,739. We did put some personnel cost for the career planners in there. If our students were not co-enrolled with the workforce services, we plan to enroll, co-enroll most of them. So if we do not use the personnel fringe benefits, that will be rolled into direct training. I think the budget, speaks for itself. Did you guys have any questions on that budget? So total with both budgets, it's going to be around $2.9 million for program year 24. Any other questions for me? Thank
Everybody
you.
got it? Okay. So it's a lot to comprehend in money, okay, in 10 to 15 minutes, right? I get it. It is for me as well. And that's why we had a longer executive committee meeting, because there's a lot of things we didn't understand, okay? But they were answered, our questions were answered, and we as a executive committee felt like that the budget that's been proposed by SAPS would be a budget that was more than acceptable. And that's why we were recommending and for the full board approval as well. So does anyone have any questions for Kevin? Any whatsoever on the budget? All right. As things, and as he said, as these quarterly reports come out, we'll see how they look, see if it's information we want, if we want more information, how this is going to evolve from here. it's like everything, you become accustomed to something, right? And when it changes, you gotta get accustomed to something new. It's what you gotta do. So, I try not to be, like, my wife says I'm a stick in the mud, but I try not to be a stick in the mud, okay? But, anyway, we'll work through this, so. With that, we actually need a motion to approve the budget as Kevin has presented it, if you have seen it. And we'll be able to move forward, so, does anyone want to make a motion to approve the budget? As presented?
I'll make that motion.
Jason makes a motion. And I'll be glad to second. I really will. I think we did it the other way around with the executive committee. So, any questions? Because we're gonna take a vote, and this will be a roll call vote. Okay. So, we'll do
Gerald,
that.
was it noted that the budget and the application for the supplemental state funding has already been submitted? What was noted about the budget, the program year budget being submitted to DCO?
Yes,
Okay.
we submitted those after the executive committee because the state had to have them in as soon as possible.
Gotcha.
Now,
Thank you.
go ahead, Courtney.
I was just saying thank you.
Okay. One of my questions was when we're within the that committee is there is no longer anything for the the word slipped my mind. For what? For apprenticeship program, yes. There was nothing in the budget for apprenticeship program. And so I was really concerned that this is gonna go away. Well, actually, it's been, it's going to be put on pause, I guess. Brian Ellis has asked that we put this on pause till everything gets up and running, and gets going good, and then hopefully we can bring this back.
Just to add a little clarity, it wasn't the DCO asked to put it on pause, it's the leadership here, with the board and sets is asked to put it on pause.
Okay.
Until they could build up capacity, and DCO supported that decision, but to be clear, it wasn't DCO
Okay.
saying that we could not.
Okay,
It was that they supported the decision to pause for now while we built capacity.
okay, thanks for that clarification. Thank you. So hope it'll come back. Yeah, hope it'll come back. And then Devin will come back. No. So, all right, any other question? Any other question? If not, Debbie, go ahead and call roll. On vote?
Gerald Boyd,
Yes.
Jim Bowen.
Yeah.
Kevin Baker. Casey Burkholder.
Yes.
Kevin Busher.
Abstain.
Brian Cannon,
Yes.
Mike Conrad. Sandy Davis,
Yes.
Aaron Hacker. Cassie Iver. Carolyn Jorgensen,
Yes.
Andy Martin,
Yes.
Josh McElravy,
Yes.
Julie Overmark,
Yes.
Lori Foreman, Deb Reed. Yes. Roy Shelley, Denise Smith,
Yes.
Chris Stoll,
Yes.
Kim Taylor, Carol Kinsey. Yes. Jason Warfel,
Yes.
Courtney Yawkey,
Yes.
Austin Spilling.
All right, thank you all very much. Thank you all very much, and we'll consider some new avenue for us to take, and we'll work through it, okay? So, Kevin, your voice rested? Did you get to do the fiscal agent transition update too?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I just want to thank the chief elected officials that are here and the board for putting your faith in selecting us to be fiscal agent grant recipient starting October 1st. Many of you know, and some of you may not know, but CFS has been in this community for almost 60 years. We've been providing social service programs to those in need. And currently we have over 65 grants that we administer, whether we are the grant recipient and fiscal agent for. and we provide services to. So being the fiscal agent grant recipient is nothing new to CEFS. However, it is new for us to do it for the WIA program. For example, we have federal grants straight from Department of Health and Human Services, like Head Start. It's over a $5 million grant a year. That comes straight from the federal government to CFS. We have other programs like LWIA that go from the federal government to DCO to CEFS, and ones like the workforce program that goes from Department of Labor to DCO to Lakeland College to CEFS. So we're in the business of helping people in need administering grants and doing it very well. So you can put your faith in us to administer the workforce grant. You're going to see a little differences, and there might be a little growing pains. I'm not going to lie. We are not perfect by any means, but we will do our best. And I can tell you one thing: there's been a lot of staff at CFS in the last 60 days, once we knew this was going to happen, but putting a lot of hard, long hours at night on the weekends to make this happen by October 1st. So we are putting the time in, we're putting the effort in to make sure that nothing is missing. Lakeland College and CFS and DCO has been meeting once a week on the transition plan. We have a written plan in place, and developing those actions and completing those actions. And Jamie and Chris have been great about supplying us with all the information we need, meeting with us whenever we need, returning phone calls. So that transition's been going very well. We are in the process of hiring 3 LWIA staff currently. I'm not sure if Cindy Mayer's in the room. Is Cindy in the room?
Yes.
Okay, Cindy is here. So I just want to introduce Cindy Mayer. She will be the Workforce Development Director for LWIA 23. Starting here, we're going to get her started next week. Cindy's had 7 years experience at CFS, being an outreach director. She's currently in charge of 11 grants. That's almost $2 million. Federal grants like through HUD, CSBG, and many grants through the Department of Human Services. She has the expertise in administering these, the federal and state grants, implementing them, making sure that all targets are getting met. She also has experience on developing, regional plans to say. She currently yearly does a community action plan for our 7 counties. It's a extensive plan of needs of the community. She works with very different vendors, different agencies through all the different grants. One thing I can say about Cindy is not only is she one of our superstars at CFS, but she's a great human being, and I can guarantee you she's not going to let anything slide through the cracks. I know I pumped her up pretty high here, but it's what it is. She's a great leader, and she'll be a great asset to LWIA 23. So I just want to introduce Cindy, and if she could say a few things about herself, I'd appreciate that.
Just straight out the door, Kevin. Like Kevin said, I have been with the agency for 7 years. My family and I live here in Effingham. I grew up in a very rural community. So I'm familiar with the area. It's home to me. My husband owns his own business. He actually took over my father's business. So, I've got kind of that little bit of a background as well. So, I will say I've heard some concern about how are we going to make sure that there's a separation. Kevin has been very firm that about the separation, that I am would really be the board's authority. So, we're prepared for that already. Just kind of put anything at you, so, I'm looking forward to this opportunity. I'm hoping Jamie will still be around to help me through the transition. let me ask some questions on what needs to be done, but I look forward to meeting each of you. I would like, get to know each of you, and meet with you and see what your vision is. And I will learn more, what you do. Good stuff. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. Talking about the transition, one thing that, I've heard tonight was the separation of duties. And that's one thing that DCU has stressed, and, we do have a separation of duties. We have 3 staff we're bringing on board. So you said Cindy, we'll be bringing on a accountant, Dylan Pleag. He's one of our accountants here at CFS, and he will be transferring in the next couple weeks to, LWIA 23. So, and then we have a business service coordinator that will be starting in the next 2 weeks. So we'll have all 3 staff in line by October 1st. The other thing we're working on right now is I have an agreement. We have an agreement with Tony Logue, who, as you know, worked for LWIA 2023 for 21 years. And he's going to be helping us in our transition, teaching our 3 staff, a lot about the encumbered worker. And he will be also be doing just training us on policies, procedures, things like that. So we have that contract with him. Another thing in his contract will be monitoring. He will continue to do monitoring as he did the last 21 years for LWIA 23. This year, he will be doing that monitoring. So you'll have a separation. He'll provide that monitoring. He'll work with Cindy on teaching her how to monitor so she can help in that process. Next year, if you want that to happen again, we can make that happen with Tony do it again. But eventually, it'll be Cindy and her staff, the 2 staff to doing that internal monitoring. That'll be separate from the monitoring, that internal monitoring that Kelly and her staff do. Kelly and her staff also do internal monitoring. That's done on a continuous basis. So I have every, I think the monitoring will be taken care of with Tony doing the monitoring, and then our staff separately that's always been doing it. Kelly and her team do the monitoring also, and there'll be 2 separate monitoring that's being done. So, we're excited about having Tony on this contractual basis. I think he's really going to be able to teach us a lot. He's got that knowledge of LWIA 23 and the knowledge of WIA to help us through this transition period. So right now, everything's on target. There will be some, fiscal closeout that'll have to be done, through the middle of October, the end of September. We're going to be, taking some inventory items from Lakeland College and boxes of files that Jamie's been just waiting to get her hands off of. So we'll be grabbing all those, and then the work will start October 1st.
All right. Any questions for Kevin? Thank you, Kevin.
All right. Thank you.
All right. A lot going on. So other business. Member opportunity to share. Well, I want to share. Chris, I know you said it's almost like giving up your baby to another parent, okay? I know how passionate you are about this, and we really appreciate all you've done. We really do. I'm glad you're still staying on the board with us.
Absolutely.
We need your expertise, okay?
Thank you.
So, thank you. Thank Lakeland College for us, okay?
We'll definitely let them both know.
Yeah. Debbie's leaving us. So, I told her earlier, I said, well, you come and gone anyway, But you've been a great asset. And from before, and even when you decided to come back and help us out, we appreciate it very much. So now she's gonna do some work in Jasper County, I guess, so. Anyway, but we appreciate it, Debbie, very much. Devin, thank you. Thank you. Wish you well. Hope things go well with your endeavors. And you've been very thorough, very good. We appreciate it. I know you're kind of a short termer here, but we appreciate all you're getting adapted to it and all your efforts and what you've done. We really appreciate it. And then there's Jamie, okay?
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. You know, Jamie came to us at a time when we couldn't meet. We didn't know who she was for a long time. We really didn't, you know. As soon as I could, I went up to your office when you were up there. We were probably all in white suits. I don't remember, but anyway, because I wanted to meet you, and we did. And then we just kind of hit it off since then. I know one time you said with Jerry, you had big shoes to fill, and I know they were big. Your feet aren't that big, but I don't know what else you used to fill them, but you did. Okay, and we really appreciate all you've done, very much so. It's been great. Okay, I mean, I know you had some with the beginning, with not being able to meet and things. You had to do a lot on your own to learn what you were supposed to be doing. You really did, and you put in the effort and you put in the hard work to make that happen, and very much appreciated by here. So thank you. And I knew that you were too good for the Lakeland to let you go, so.
Sounds worried there.
So wish you well. Wish you well. You got my number. I got yours. I got yours. So, but we do thank you all. Thank you all for all your work and stuff. So. Yeah, it has. It's been good. It's been good. So any other members want to share anything? All right.
I just want to say, I'm sorry that we are, LWIA 23 is losing all three of these wonderful people. But fortunately, they have all found another place to land. So let's hope that, you know, two of you are staying with Lakeland. And Debbie, you're moving on to a new major in something that told me you think you're really excited about. So this is wonderful for you. I hope everything works out for all of you, and for LWIA 23 as we move on. It's kind of weird how it all kind of came up, and I got into it, I feel like a little late. There were some things going on that were, I don't know, things that are just stirring, and so in the meeting I don't think anyone was known, because I don't think I really shared it. The last meeting that we had.
What meeting you talking about?
Well, our last board meeting, for instance, I'm talking about the different things, let me stand and so I can get my thoughts together. The meeting, first of all, was talking about the meeting with Dr. Bullock and myself and Chris. But before that, at our last board meeting in July, this is when this kind of hit everybody. No one was aware of it, because I hadn't been aware of it too much before that, and tried to delve into, well, what's going on, what's you know, working under all of this. And it seemed then Dr. Bullock and Chris and I and you, Gerald, you know, we all had a meeting together following that June meeting. And I was expecting perhaps we could discuss, well, what's going on? How can we clear the air, get through whatever's going on? But instead, at that point, then Dr. Bullock indicated that he had already informed the staff that Lakeland was giving us our 60 days notice. So at the end of the meeting, I asked him, I said, we have worked together so well for 9.5 years. I said, what happened after December? You know, what happened in this last year? And he told me that, well, the lawyers got together, his law, Lakeland's lawyers, they looked at the contract and they felt like if Lakeland was going to, as fiscal agent, was going to incur the liability, because there is a lot of liability to this. And, if SEFs doesn't do their job right, if we don't do our job right, and the grants are not awarded properly, or they're awarded and they should have been, then that will come back on the fiscal agent. And fiscal agent doesn't come through, well, then it comes back on us CEOs. So our counties are responsible. And he indicated that due to the liability issues, some of the employers or the lawyer, whoever it was, felt like they needed more control of the contract. Well, that didn't work for us. And so that's where a lot of the conflict was coming from. I just feel like, I'm clear the air, let you guys know where did this all start from, and this is where we ended up where we are now. Because in the contract that they wrote for, or whoever wrote it down, I don't know, can you, I'm sure you didn't write it all by yourself, you probably had help with the wording of some of it. There were things that were entered into the contract that did not even follow through, according to Brian Ellis, with the federal act. And because he told me, he said, do not sign that contract. There are things in it that just are not conducive to LWIA, to WIOA. And one of them was that there were some decisions in the contract that the board and that the CEOs were taken out, and it left it up to the fiscal agent. So that's kind of where the controversy, or some of the controversy. Now, there were other things going on as well that I'm not as aware of or fully aware of, that started this process moving forward, and that led to Dr. Bullock coming to the meeting. And then when we ended up having our meeting, I was hoping that we could clear the air at that point and discuss it, but I think I missed my opportunity at that June meeting. But I didn't know quite how to bring it up, because you guys didn't really know what was going on. And the CEOs really didn't, have the full story, because I was just bringing a lot of it myself. So I apologize for that, for not being more aware or sooner, or being able to, at that meeting, to maybe clear the air, especially when we had Dr. Bullock there. But they had he mentioned that they have other projects, because I told him I was very sorry it happened this way. And he said, well, they've got a couple other projects going on that they are moving on to. So, and I really hated it for our people, our staff, but maybe it was supposed to be this way, because even though, as I mentioned, I was not comfortable with, having one entity doing both, due to the oversight issues and all. On the other hand, SEFs has been with us for over 50 years. And serving in the capacity of service provider. There was a little break in there for a few years, but overall it's been about 50 or 53 years or something that SEFs has been a service provider. They're a trusted agency. Not that I didn't trust them, it was just that whole, like we were talking about today. Mingling, how are we going to keep them separate?
Okay, let's wrap it up.
I'm
Let's
sorry.
wrap it up.
But anyway, I just kind of wanted you guys to know what precipitated all of this. Because I don't think we had the story. It's not that we just woke up one day and said, oh, let's leave Lakeland and go someplace else, you know? But, so anyway, that's kind of where it came from. I feel like we deserve to kind of know what led us to this point and why we're here. And hated that we are losing our three wonderful people. But and I'm glad that everybody here is so cooperative as far as moving forward from here. So thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Nancy. All right. Any public comment? No public comments. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Yes. Hey, Josh? All in favor, Josh Madden? All those in favor say aye.
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 Jim, thanks for your service, man. No spot. We appreciate it.
If you're heading. Congratulations today. Look, whatever you want to taste off. No. I don't. Yeah, Carolina. Congratulations. Well. You got it all. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I'm definitely for it, and I thought.
Me again, all right, yeah.
As always. The only thing I can guarantee you is that things will change. Okay, so, it doesn't matter what it is.
We didn't say you were sitting down.
All right, it looks like the only person we can just answer remotely is Kevin Busher, so EOs. It is still Monday night, September 16th. It is the quarterly LWIA 23 Chief Elected Official Consortium meeting. It is 7:20, so Chair Nancy Purdy, whenever you are ready to call the meeting to order. So,
Thank you. We will have roll call.
Tom here.
Here.
Jim Moore.
Here.
Jim Burrow.
Here.
Bill Burns. Josh Fowler. Dennis Gray. Jacob Harris. Nancy Purdy. Here. Josh Rose. Debbie Smith. Jeff Boyd.
Here.
Jason Warfel.
Here.
Terry Woodrow. We've got one.
Number two, review the approval of the minutes. There are three, starting with the June 17th minutes. Would I have a motion for approval? Is that acceptable to everyone? All right, all those in favor? Any opposed? Same sign. All right, it's June 17th, July 15th, meeting minutes at the same time. Finally, motion to approve those three. Probably tell. Address the things we all right, the three, I'll take the vacancies further. For the numbers.
Motion second, yeah.
Figure out why. Background noise.
Yeah, sold it once. I voted.
It's like an omnibus, you don't have it.
We have.
No conflict with interest. Four, approval of the second board members. This is the reappointments of Julie Overmark, Tammy Taylor, and Bill Tracy.
So each of those, board members represent the public sector. Julie Overmark represents higher education from Cascadia College. Kim Taylor represents community, based organization with FACO. And Carol Tracy represents PSCC with VERBA. All three of them have agreed to serve another term on the workforce board and have completed the paperwork to do so. And since they are public, since they are the public sector, those have to all agree to nominate, to approve the nomination for the appointments. So, please second that. Maybe we can vote to approve for those name.
We have a second. All right.
No, because there's no money.
Okay.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say something. Signatory,
So from Lakeland College, there's actually no inventory authority update, so I will turn it over to Kevin and Martina if you want to, give an update on inventory authority on behalf of the board since on the last meeting.
Jamie, I'm not hearing you, so I didn't know what, I couldn't hear what you said, sorry.
Lakeland College has not signed for anything on behalf of the board since the last board meeting or CEO meeting. So would you like to give an update on what, CFS has signed on behalf of the CEOs?
The only thing we had signed off was those 2 grants that are on the agenda items.
six, fiscal year 24 steps of budget approval. Kevin,
Yes, does anybody need any other explanation of the budget that I went over earlier in the evening?
no, was there an increase or decrease from last year? And what percentage was? Increase in the budget amount? Well, percentage, but no, overlap.
The allocations of the formula?
Yeah.
There was an increase in the allocation. We talked about that back in June's meeting.
Okay,
So this is, STEP's budget of what they're going to do with the allocation.
okay. I didn't know how much it compared to last year.
It was, I want to say, 7%. 6 or 7%. It was an increase. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, that's not that. I just kind of.
Nancy, approval.
We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Okay. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Tom Beard.
Yes.
Jim Bolt.
Yeah.
Jim Brewer. Southern. Dennis Graves. Jacob Harris. Nancy Purdy.
Yes.
Rock Road. Debbie Smith.
Yes.
Jeff Boyd.
Yes.
Jason Warple.
Yes.
Terry Woodrow.
And, number 7 is fiscal agent transition update. We did hear that in the last meeting, but is there anything else you'd like to say, Kevin? Or does anyone have any questions?
I don't have anything to add. Just if anybody has any questions for me.
Thank you. Hearing none, number 8, board attendance report and report appointments.
Sure. In your packets, you should have a report on the attendance. There are a handful of board members who have, missed 2 out of the last 3 meetings. So if you can keep an eye on them, if they're from your county. And just remind them how important it is. There's a direct correlation of how many participants, how much grant funds go to each county compared to board engagement. So it is important that they remain engaged with board meetings and that they are advocating for the Black health in communities. The reappointments from private sector are Lori Foreman and Austin's Willing, that each of their CEOs have been aware that they need to fight proxies for when they are not going to attend or make sure that they're attending more often. And then we have a new appointee from Clark County, which is Deb Bohannon. So effective October 1st, she will be representing Clark County on the private sector side. She has been has completed her appointment and nomination forms. And now with the approval of tonight's meeting for the public sector, the entire appointment packet can be submitted to the state for their approval. And we will do that. It's due September 30th, and I will complete it tomorrow as soon as I get back to the office. It's just a matter of doing some stuff in the new software that we have, and it all automatically goes to the state to await their approval. Now, their approval sometimes can be quite a long time coming. For instance, last year in September, we had it all done, and we just got approval this summer for what was submitted last September. But know that we have all the documents in, they are going to be submitted, and it is not our fault if TCO takes a little bit of time to finalize those.
Do they look at the opinions or is?
They just ensure that the composition of our board is within the expectations of WIA legislation. So 51% has to be private sector and representation from all of the 13 counties. That there's representation from labor in organized unions. There's representation from community-based organizations and consortium partners. So it's more of them ensuring that our board is made up of the right people and the right representation and not so much looking at the attendance. The attendance is on the chief elected officials to make sure their nominated board members are.
Thank you. Any other questions? Number 9, National Apprenticeship Week.
As discussed earlier, National Apprenticeship Week in November is coming up, and while there's not an active apprenticeship grant, there's still going to be a lot of encouragement at the state level and even national level for there to be proclamations made recognizing the week. So before I leave, I will make sure that templates of those proclamations are sent out to you all, and I highly encourage you at your next board meetings before November to issue those proclamations and to then I'll give you information on where to submit them, most likely go through Cindy and then onto the state. So there's they're all recognized and accounted for because there is kind of a competition. Illinois, the last few years, has always been #1 in proclamations for National Apprenticeship Week, and we really want to maintain our status as #1. So there will be more information to come, and I highly encourage you to also not only with your county board, share it with municipalities, with cities, mayors, any community leader to proclaim National Apprenticeship Week and support apprenticeships.
Thank you. Number 10, any old business? New business? Next meeting is December the 16th. 11 is public comment.
Real quick, just because I pulled it up, the increase from last year's formula funds is 6.7%. LWIA 23 increase of 6.7% compared to last year's formula.
Thank you. Number 12, closing remarks. I have received more than needed to be said. And 13, motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Thank you, second. All those in favor? Bye.
So with that, I will end the recording. Thank you all so much.